All right, we want to do introductions first. All right, Nikos, you're up first.
I thought the was I want to go first.
It wasn't, but we'll go first. All right. I'm Nikos. I'm a Chelsea fan. Blues. Ah, are we going into why we like them, or are we gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah.
names
Do a little,
first?
why we like them.
Yeah, yeah. I think I can't even. It's been a while. I remember it was just the one team I gravitated towards when I was younger playing FIFA, and I was just like, all right, cool team, fun colors, and then I think that was like mid 2000s, and then as soon as Fernando Torres joined, they had Torres and Drogba, and I was like, these guys are sick. And I just started watching ever since, and then that's how I picked my team. I'm like a little hardcore. Unfortunately, I do have a tattoo on my arm. I pulled trig after we won a Champions League, and I was like, yeah, first tattoo is gonna be a Chelsea tattoo, and then it's way bigger than I thought it was gonna be, and I was like, yeah, yeah, we're vibing with it. That's what we're doing. So I got to fill in more, but yeah, I'm a pretty big Chelsea fan.
I like it. I told my wife, I said, if and when Arsenal win the Champions League, I'm getting an Arsenal tattoo. She's like, all
Oh, I
right.
mean that's good.
So you won't be the only one. Hopefully, you won't be the only one.
Yeah,
You're
and
gonna
you're
be the
and
only one,
you're
Nikos.
you're probably not going to get a tattoo. Yeah, so I
Right.
mean that's good for your wife at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. She said, how hard is that? I said, we've never done it before. She was like, oh, yeah, I'll make that bet. I'll make that bet.
Golden. I'll put the money aside
Yeah,
right now.
that's a good bet. I'll do that.
All right, who's next?
I'll go. My name is Wesley Cromble. I'm an Arsenal fan. I was born with a few extra brain cells, and I began to love the team because of Thierry Henry. I then really fell in love with Theo Walcott because of his speed. It was just mesmerizing. I feel like it was a time where YouTube was kind of exploding with videos, and there was one particular clip. God, I forget the team, even though I've watched it so many times that they were playing against. But he ran from one box to the other in like 7 seconds flat, and I'm like, this solidifies me loving Arsenal. It wasn't even like an Arsenal thing, but I just stuck to Arsenal, and um, sure, I've had moments where I've second guessed why I went to Arsenal, but ultimately I love the club, and I will die an Arsenal fan.
I like it.
Hell yeah.
Fair enough. All right, I'll go next. JP Peters, Manchester City fan. Always have been. Always will be. Not plastic. Born and bred.
The most
you'll
opposite thing, all right?
you'll hear the plastic accusation from the Gooners in the group here every now and then. But when did I start supporting City? It had to be when I was younger. There were so many Manchester United fans around. I didn't watch the sport when I was in second, third grade. I'd moved on to American football in terms of what I played, but there were so many United fans that just the competitor in me, not necessarily the most educated at the time, said, "Oh, Manchester City's in the same city, so they've got to be the biggest rival for Manchester United," which at the time they weren't in terms of on the field, but it paid off in the long run.
That was a good
I
bet.
think it was a good bet. I knew it was once 93-20 happened. We'll forever have Aguero watching over. Um, yeah, so been a City fan since.
Nice. My name's Kyle, Arsenal fan. When I was younger, played FIFA. I would play a lot of Arsenal, and then fell in love with Tim Howard when loved loved the beard, and then kind of stopped watching. And then years later, RJ, one of my buddies who's a Patriots fan and a Bruins fan with me, was like, "Dude, you got to get back into the Premier League. Like Arsenal, they just fired their new coach. They got Emery now, new coach. Like great time to start watching." So really got heavy into it then, and what a journey that has been. And now it's I love it more than the Patriots or the Bruins. Absolutely my favorite team by far now, which is kind of crazy because if you told me 10 years ago I'd like a soccer team more than the Patriots, no chance. But anybody that starts following, I think it's just It's just sports different. Love it.
The real football.
Yes. The beautiful
What?
game.
So on that topic, I know we have like an agenda, but what do you think is like making it so Arsenal is now the team that you watch the most and the team you support the most? Because I feel similar. Like City, I moved out to Las Vegas because the Las Vegas Raiders are here now,
Yeah.
and still for me, like it's City over anything.
For me, I think number one, I think all of us being in America, we can't go to the games. You know what I mean? So it's like when you watch it on TV, you get 45 minutes. It doesn't stop. There's no commercials. Nothing's taking you out of the game. You just get 45 minutes straight. Then you get a little break. Then it's another 45 minutes. With football now, it's like kickoff, commercial, 3-and-out punt, commercial. They get the ball, they throw an interception, commercial. It just feels
Yeah,
like you're like sometimes
sure.
I'm watching football and I'm bringing out my phone, I'm checking fantasy, and I'm like, you're just not really engaging. And I think just the way, and then just the way the sport is like you kind of can't take your eyes off of it. You kind of, oh, it might be dull for a minute, but you never know. All of a sudden, there's a move, there's a challenge. You know, that's just for me. I don't
Right.
know what everybody else thinks.
It's funny because when I was younger, I always kind of thought it was like an exclusive club of people that like watched soccer. Because growing up, I always played. I'm sure Wes and I we played on the same town team for a long time, not on the same team, but like in the same system. So like I've just played since a kid, and soccer was always kind of that like odd, odd sport out,
Yeah,
and then just kind of having to like be that odd sport out, but then now watching it grow and now it's like getting a little bit more and more and more popular. But I think just the fact that like it's so universal that kind of like it builds that community. And then like, just having like for me personally having like a lot of like on my family, they come from Italy or they come from like Puerto Rico and stuff. So like soccer is just a huge sport. So like it kind of just always came down from like being a child watching the game and then like watching it grow in America. So like I always just felt like it was an exclusive club. So like it was just like the odd thing to do when you were younger, but now it's like crazy to see how big it's got. But I think it's just like it's different. It's different that we like same as you said that like we don't get it as much as we do like football, baseball because it's so broadcasted everywhere. So like we have to bleed it. We have to like breathe it. It's something that like you have to actually like make your way to do because if you go on any other sport prime time you're going to get all of the actual like American sports. You have to go out of your way to watch this. So it's like a dedication.
yeah. You have to watch a YouTube channel for your favorite team. You have to watch different podcasts and watch people talk about it. There isn't. You can't just turn on ESPN and they're like, oh yeah, so Liverpool are doing this. It's like that
It's
doesn't. It doesn't happen.
infuriating. ESPN is infuriating because when you watch so many crazy things happen, and then they'll cover like one sliver of a story that happens in the soccer world, and you're like, no way.
Yeah,
And then when they
Yep.
do cover it, whenever there's that occasional top 10 moment that happens for
yeah,
ESPN, they're like, oh, I remember there was one where Cole Palmer made a free kick and he was on like the top 10. He was like, oh, we got a story out from England. I was like, really? I'm like, that's like six. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how hard it is
yeah.
to thread that needle? And then
So
like,
sick.
I was so irritated. I was like, we got a story from over the pond, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I can't deal with this.
I watch the Pat
I've
McAfee show every day, and every once in a while they'll randomly bring up, like one of the guys in the back, Gumpy, is a Liverpool fan, and he'll randomly bring up Liverpool, and they'll talk about it for like 10 minutes, and it's like I'm so giddy watching. Like, come on, guys, like get into it. It'd be so much fun to have,
Yep. Or like they'll bring on JJ Watt
yeah,
and they'll talk about Burnley for a little
yes,
bit,
exactly,
or something like that. Yeah.
I think a lot of credit has to go to Peacock, I think, because it was somewhere around the 2012 to 2015 era, if my dates aren't off, where they had Premier League streaming full time. I think before that, or like even before 2010, you could not find the games pretty much in the
Right.
US unless you had some kind of weird streaming thing that was new to streaming. So
Right.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of credit is to that. I'm definitely in soccer from the very get-go of my life. Pretty much as I could walk, I played. God knows why my parents put me in soccer, but I'm grateful for it. And I think just now, I'm actually kind of in the minority here, I think, in this group where I have never really watched American football. I watched the Super Bowl, I watched a couple of playoff games, but I don't watch football here. So that was the first football that I knew, and I think just the artistry behind it. I think um, every spot has or every sport has its like art to it, but there's just something about watching them on a field that gets so in depth that allows you to really watch it and just becomes orgasmic at times, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. My
Yeah.
brother's a big Steelers fan, and I've tried to get him into soccer. And we have this conversation all the time. He's like, "Yeah, but in football, they score so many more points. Like a game that's like 21-28." I'm like, "Well, no, that's 3-4. So that
Yeah.
happens. That's just three to
Yeah.
four.
Yep.
Like I don't, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's all it is.
They just throw
They
in
want, they
make
could
points.
Yeah,
we could start making goals worth 5 points.
yeah,
Like
we could
it
do
wouldn't
that. Yeah, you know.
I forgot where I saw that, or if it was like on a show or something. It was like it's the same thing. It's 1-1. It's like no, it's 7-7. It's like
It's
no,
like, no.
it's 1-1 with 6 make believe points.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
it's
that
just-
makes sense.
Yeah, it's like it's still high scoring. You just they just counted differently. But yeah.
Well, and then like the transfer window in soccer is the best offseason sports. I mean,
Yeah.
like in football, yeah, you have free agents who sign. In baseball, you have free agents. You have, at the trade deadline, sometimes something happens, but every year, I mean, you get huge transfers for huge money. Players
You want to
that
know why though? It is
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
only transfer market that is global. There's no
Exactly.
global NBA market. There's no global American football market. There's not even a cricket worldwide market. Like, take a sport that's more worldwide. Like, soccer is the only sport where you're hearing about people
Yep.
being picked up in the tip of Chile, from Canada to Russia. Like, it's every corner of the world, which I think is why the transfer market is one of one.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I
100%.
love the
It's the
transfer
only
market.
sport. Yeah, it's like the only sport that can really keep you paying attention to it 365 days a year. Because when like all this is going on in the transfer window, there's also international going on. Like now we have the Club World Cup going on. I mean, winner can take home 125 million. That's one huge transfer or a couple big transfers. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
It's funny. The first thing I do when I wake up every single morning, no, I don't miss this. Is I go on and I update Fabrizio. That's the first thing I do every single morning. I wake up. I'm like, oh my
Yep.
god, did something happen while I was sleeping? Because usually it's
I wake
Europe,
up.
so it's like 5,
Yep.
6 hours, and then I wake up and
Exactly.
I'm like, all right, what did I miss from the last like 6 hours or so?
Yep.
But that's like the first thing, and it's constant. It's every single day. There's so many. It's so cool because there's so many teams that like there's news everywhere.
Oh
There's
yeah.
news in
Yep.
Italy, Germany, England, US, France. It's not just like, all right, we got 18 teams, or how many teams there are in like
Yeah.
the NFL or something, where it's like, all right, we only have so many teams.
No, there's
So
hundreds.
hey, so and so
Like-
went there. You have, and it's everything, and you got to watch from like, we have this 16-year-old from the third league of England coming up to be like a reserve player at Chelsea or an academy player. So there's so many layers to it, and you don't get anything like that in like
Yep.
U.S. professional sports where like, oh, we just got this 12-year-old kid and he's in our academy. You're like, what? Like that?
Yeah.
Put that kid in school. Like no, like this is where it starts. It's 12 years old. They're on the academy team. We're spotlighting this guy from 12 years old, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I do the exact same thing. Wake up, roll over, refresh Twitter, look, I have notifications on for all the big names, it's like David Ornstein, anything? No, okay, for anything. And I think I like it too because, like you said, it's so worldwide. There's so many different players. It's like, oh, your team's linked to a player. And you're like, okay, but now you actually have to watch who they're linked to. Because if you're trying to get their winger, all of a sudden they're linked to another winger. Like, wait a minute, now they actually might sell us their winger because they're bringing in their replacement. So it doesn't end, And then also,
Yep.
the competition of all of us. Like, it's like, oh, I don't want City to get, anybody else good. I don't want Chelsea to get anybody good. It's like, oh, damn. Liverpool got worse. Like that sucks. Like that guy's so good. Like I don't want him. So it doesn't
Just
end.
before this, I was irritated because the Gyökeres stuff.
Yeah.
Like just seeing that he's linked to you guys and it's probable. Like I was looking, I've been off the phone for like a few hours today, so I saw the text message in our group chat, and I was just like, oh god, here we go.
Yeah.
It's like that irritated me alone just because of like the quality of the striker, knowing that like God, he's gonna be on like our biggest
Yeah.
rival, or linked. So you're just
Yeah,
like, it's
linked.
so annoying. Yeah.
I'm not crazy about getting him unless we also get Sesko, but I don't want him as the number one striker.
It's gonna be one. You guys aren't there's
Yeah, it's one or the other.
because both of them are gonna come in wanted to be the main guy, so they're not gonna. Sesko's gonna drop them.
Sesko makes just the most sense for us, I think, because of the age, and then also because we also have Kai Havertz, and for whatever reason, I have a feeling he starts the season no matter who we get. I think that he keeps that. So I think Sesko being younger, he could kind of ease into it. But I don't know. It definitely feels like
Sesko's younger, he's stronger, he's taller. I think he's better at finishing. He's been in a more tough league.
Where's
There's
Sesko
been
coming
plenty
from?
of examples of people coming from the Portuguese league who were stellar, and then they walked into the Premier League, and it's just not the same player. That's what worries
RB
me.
Leipzig.
Yeah, Leipzig.
Bundesliga.
Yeah, I mean, how did Leipzig do this year?
Pretty sure they did all
Not-
right. But they did.
Yeah.
He did decent in the Champions League. Sesko did.
He did decent in the Champions League, but the 75 million that Manchester City spent on Marmoush in January, I mean, he still didn't finish over Marmoush in goals in the Bundesliga. So
True.
I was gonna say also who did he do well against in the Champions League? It's a long tournament.
Yeah.
Was it highlight? Was it big teams or was it like young boys?
And then this year they also had him. I guess they lost their left winger, so they kind of shoehorned him into playing left wing a lot. It kind of went to like a 4-4-2, but he was not in his preferred.
So we got someone coming in at a position that he's not.
I know. So
they don't know where to put him. He doesn't know where to go. So I mean, that's tricky.
But he's tall and he could jump, and all we do is score corners. So,
Yeah, but you guys have. Yeah, I mean, Gabriel, is he going to be back soon? Or Gabriel?
He's probably out until I think fall time. Like
who?
Jesus, not Magalhaes. We have so many Gabriels.
No, not Jesus.
Oh, defender Gabriel. He said he'll be good for preseason.
Because I was gonna say he's your main your headpiece guy.
He's our corner guy.
Nothing infuriates me like that man. I hate that man with burning passion. There's something about him that oh god, I just get so riled up. Yeah, like majority of the Arsenal players do. Something about Gabriel. It's like how I feel about Bruno for Man U.
The defender?
Yeah, the defender.
I've never heard of that, which is interesting.
Arguably the best defender in the world right now, through and through. That's
well, not right now. I mean, I don't think he's really walking right now.
I think he's the most smug guy out there. I'm not a big fan. I think he's got.
You're not the only one, Nikos. You're not the only one. I mean,
sorry,
remember when City brought it to a draw? Holland picked the ball up out of the net and threw it off his head. I mean,
I know. I forget. I'm talking to two Arsenal fans right now. So of course, he's the best defender in the world right now.
Yes, of course.
This year he was definitely the better defender out of him and Saliba for us, which I wouldn't have guessed.
I can't think who's a better defender than him in the world all around. He scores, he defends, he can take the ball up the field. Like great in the air. Like I'm trying to be fair and unbiased. Who would be better than him last year as a center back?
Are we talking about Premier League or everywhere?
World.
Oh man, there's quite a few.
No, look at even PSG or Inter who made it to the Champions League final. You can't point to one of their center backs and be like, he's better than Gabriel.
It's really tough because like it is hard to argue that if you take Gabriel, Saliba, and Raya as that three piece in the back, like they conceded the least amount of goals in the Premier League. So
2 consecutive years.
like you have you have a good argument.
He's 100% solid, but I wouldn't put him as like. I wouldn't put him as number one.
I'm surprised that he is better than Saliba. I would never have guessed.
That's why I want them to bring in another center back that's at least Kivior or better, who can just keep him accountable and check him to make sure that, I don't know, it's almost like he kind of just knew that second place was it last year and had a couple of fumbles towards the end
Yeah,
that
the end of the
wasn't like
season,
him.
yeah, like the fire kind of went out in a sense.
So I guess what do you guys think is the missing piece, I guess, for both of your teams? Like for Arsenal, like what do you guys think is like the missing piece that like you guys are finishing in second? What's the one thing that you guys are like overall on the team, we need to improve this? This will get us the championship.
Obviously, striker.
Yeah, striker.
Not getting every number one player in the position and part of the field hurt at some point this year for a length of time.
So physios,
we
you need new physios.
Yeah.
or Zubamendi, I'm taking as a done deal. And then I don't know. I do think we need again a center back who's going to challenge Saliba. I'd also take a wing that would challenge Martinelli. I think he, in his best, can help win a Premier League, but the past year or two has been like he gets to Champions League. So striker, center back to challenge Saliba, midfielder, which is Zubamendi, and then a winger. That's who I'd go after.
I would be striker number one, just because Kai Havertz, I don't think, is ever going to be a 25 goal a season player. I just don't think that's him. I think we need someone up front who could score when, there's so many games where we just dominate and we just can't score, and we definitely need a striker. I would then go winger. I love Martinelli. He's been like one of my favorites for the last few years, but I think he's plateaued. I don't know if it's the system because he doesn't have like an overlapping left back anymore because Kieran Tierney hasn't really been there. And they've having the left back invert, so he's kind of on an island by himself, which is why like when the Rodrigo links came out, I was like, do whatever you have to. Get me an elite left winger, please. We've been linked to Nico Williams, which I think now he's probably going to go to Barcelona.
Or Bayern, I saw.
Yeah, or Bayern. I saw Rafael Leao from AC Milan. I don't know. I feel like he would have made the jump earlier if he was that level. But we
and with that
need...
one, like, how many more people can Milan sell, right? Like, they just sold Reinders to City. I mean, like, they can't let two huge pieces of their offensive output go.
Yeah. Yeah, like if I saw, I don't know what Twitter account it was, but it was like, why don't we just swap Martinelli for Leao and we'll give them some money, like you said, because they've sold so many people. It's like, well, at least give them a piece, but
yeah, but that's taking their star.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
For Martinelli and chump change,
Yeah, it's like same thing. Like Trossard, he's just a good gadget guy who can play any of those front three. Have him come in at 60 minutes when maybe we need a goal. Maybe he can do something, but he's not a starter to me. So definitely striker, left wing, and then I would want some depth pieces so that Gabriel Saliba don't have to play. Get a young center back who's got some potential. Guy from Ajax, Hato, I don't know, whatever. Him, I think, is another left back, center back, can play. We got 2 right backs now. Hopefully Ben White is healthy this year. So Saka's back up. We got the kid Ethan Waneri. Have him do that job. So striker, winger, and then some squad players that are young who could, do that. What about for you guys?
I'll ask the question to the City and Chelsea fans, though, because, well, I don't even know why I'm asking, because City already has spent like $500 million, and Chelsea spent $2 billion in the past 2 years. So I don't know who else they could possibly sign.
Go ahead, Nico. So you can go first.
I mean, let's not.
We should
I
talk
got
about who
time, so
Chelsea
go
has
ahead,
to
Nikos.
offload
I got
here.
time. You're short on time.
Let's
I got time. Go ahead.
let's not think about what's happened in the last few years, where Chelsea had to start from the ground up essentially, and you know what? We forcefully had to sell our owner, and you know what? We had to sell, we had to buy, and we spent money. Now, personally, I think what we need to do is for lineup wise, we need center backs. I just feel like we have too young of center backs. I feel like we're focusing on the wrong people. Every time I see our links, it's a lot of midfielders. But why are we targeting more midfielders when we have Caicedo, who they're saying he played every single game, he's awesome, and I'm like, I think he was subpar this year, but we're giving him all these accolades for just saying he played every single game. We have Enzo, who's our captain for some reason. I don't know why, but we have two solid midfielders. We picked up Lavia. We have so many midfielders. So I just hate to see that we keep on looking for midfielders. Obviously, we need a striker because I think Nico Jackson is just an absolute
Yeah, he's
curse
horrible.
to our team.
He's absolutely horrible.
So I think Delap was a good pickup. Now, do I think he's our star pickup? No. I feel like he's going to be solid. I think he is a great player. He's young. I think he's 20 years old. Absolute stud for 20 years old. And for the price that we paid for him, what, under 30, about 30,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable.
Good bit of business right there.
For 20 years old, had an unbelievable season on Ipswich. Shout out to my dad; he's an Ipswich fan. But I feel like we just kind of are focusing in the wrong areas. I feel like we need that striker. I feel like Delap could play on the wing. We need experienced center backs. I think our last experienced center back was Thiago Silva, and he wasn't at the time. He was an old guy.
Yeah,
but
he was 100.
He brought that senior level and composure. And that kind of goes to when you think of the Chiellinis in the world, the Bonucci's, the Italian center back method. Listen, these guys aren't the youngest, most athletic guys, but we need that experienced veteran in that center back position. But instead, we pull trig on Fofana, who's been hurt for 3 years in a row. We have all these young guys in there. So Chelsea's not perfect in their transfer. Yeah, we spend a lot of money, but I feel like right now we need some center backs and then a striker. We have enough wingers. I think Pedro Neto's a stud. I think actually, you know what? We could probably use another winger because I hate Madueke. There's a lot that we could do. But the fact that in the last few years that we've brought ourselves up from, being sanctioned to having to sell, basically restart our whole team. I think we're doing good to bring us into the Champions League again. I think to ask you guys with the same question as to why doesn't your team spend money? You guys have it. I feel like if the owner cared enough, they would have dropped a little bit of cash. But I think it always comes down to that when it's oh, you guys spend too much money. Why aren't you guys spending any money?
Yeah.
So I think those are the questions that could be raised there. But I don't know. There's a lot that could happen. I think next year is going to be pretty interesting.
I just feel like Chelsea is a pack rat club when it comes to buying people. They're walking through a store. Ooh, you know what? I'll buy that. It's kind of just good enough. I'll probably use it at some point. Let me get that. I don't really need it, but I'll probably use it at some
I will
point.
say,
And then
that
before you know it, you have a mixing pot of B plus players that are never going to win you the Premier League or ever go far in Champions League.
I will say the
To
first
me,
year,
Delap is another example.
No. The first year, I'll agree with that. The first year that we sold to whatever his name is, the Dodgers guy, I agree that
Bowley.
Bowley. The first year that we sold to Bowley, I agree that we went a little bit overboard.
Yeah, that was FC
10-year
24 fantasy.
Also, if we really do think about the deals that were made, which I don't feel like enough people talk about, is that these deals were made for 10 years. They had to literally make a rule because we were doing business. We were doing absolute business. So you guys pay 70 million for 3 years. We paid 100 million for 10 years. And look, halfway through, we're probably going to sell that player, get some of that back, but it's just the fact that we're doing long-term business, and I don't think people talk about that over time. The contracts are they have something in their contract or whatever, but I feel like no one talks about the 10-year deals aspect of it, where it's people are doing deals for 3 years for 79 million. but Chelsea was doing 90 mil deals for 9 years. So I feel like there was
right, and you guys couldn't buy players for a while.
yeah, we were
So like
sanctioned
you
for like a
had to
whole
spend
year.
money. You
Yeah.
can't just rely on an academy if you're a Chelsea, a club that's supposed to be competing for top 4 and Champions League and FA Cup. Like you have money coming in from shirt sales, uh, from people going to games, ticket sales. Like you need to spend when you're Chelsea.
They're also going to need a larger club store because they have 112 players on their roster.
Hey, if it gets the job done. Hey, listen, we had to start from scratch. We were like a below mid-table team the last like 2 years. Now we're back in the Champions League. I think that when we bought a lot of people young, and I think now it's starting to kind of build, and I think that's the exciting thing to see right now.
And stole
What
Cole
grade?
Palmer. You got Cole Palmer for a good deal.
Yeah, he it was a little bit rough at the end of
He's
the
a
year. I'm
pen
not gonna
merchant,
lie,
but
Yeah.
okay. End of the year was tough.
Yeah.
bit tough. But I think he has
what
those like
grade? What grade would you rate the Delap transfer?
me personally. I'm giving that like a B. I think he's he's young. He's 20 years old. He costs us about 30. I'm not sure how many years. Actually, I have it. Let me see how many years.
Is
that
he
is.
someone who can win you the Premier League?
I think he's someone that can get goals. And I think that's right now is the most important thing. I'm not going in with the expectation of we're going to win the league. I'm going in with the expectation that like we're going to be a little bit of a troublemaker in the top 4. Now, if we get to that position where we're in first, I feel like even our head coach is saying like we're not ready to win the league. We're a young team, but I think with experience, I think the last 2 years we were the youngest team in the league. So I
Yeah.
think that we're an unexperienced team, but now like we're getting the pieces of the puzzle there. We're building with experience. So I'm not going in with saying like we're gonna win. We're right there, but we're gonna be trouble like disruptors almost. I feel.
I also think you guys just got lucky with Man U and Tottenham being anchors in the table, and then you're left with the big six with Man City, who was softer than they've been in a half decade this past season. And then, you have those mid clubs that are Aston Villa, the Forest, who were quite exciting last year, Newcastle. But I think if it wasn't for the top six being a bit dismantled, I think you guys would have had trouble getting into the Champions League spot.
I think it was a bit of I think it was a bit of luck. I'll take it. I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we look at where the results lay, and we made it. But I think we had a few struggle pieces. I think we had a few players not perform. But at the end of the day, we're in Champions League, and that's the only thing that matters. At the end of the day, Tottenham's in Champions League too. You know,
True.
I think at the end,
True.
at the end of the day, the goal is to get the Champions League, and we did it somehow. But I can't complain about that.
You asked the question. You were like, why doesn't Arsenal spend money? I kind of think of Arsenal as the Patriots from like 5 years ago. Bill Belichick is at the end where it's like they don't do anything new. Like you said, they do
Yeah.
a $70 million deal and they do a 3 year contract. So it's like they haven't learned yet of like how the LA Rams are being able to just basically have all these stars because they've figured out how to kick contracts down the road and how to win now but not screw yourself later. And we're going to move into, hey, this is the way, this is like the smart way to do business. Like Chelsea, they sold their training ground to themselves to just make money for PSR just to be in the rules. It's like, yeah, that's shady. Absolutely. Anybody could say, yeah, that's shady. You're just doing it to get around the rule. Absolutely. But it's like, then why aren't you doing it? Like,
Because
hey,
now there's
if
gonna
it's
be
legal, like if it's legal, then just do it. Like just do it.
There's going to be a new rule next year that
Yeah.
says you can't do that.
Exactly.
And that's we're going to have 2 rules in the past few years that are because Chelsea's doing crazy business.
Yeah, which
You gotta
but
be
it's
smart.
There's a reason they've been transfer banned before.
it's like
Okay,
So
the most recent one wasn't our fault.
yeah.
So I want to hear from this City fan over here of what he thinks he needs. But before I let him talk, let me just wipe the sludge off the camera. All right, go ahead,
The
JP.
oil. All the oil money.
So okay, so I already got the $500 million line earlier. Well, they haven't spent a $500 million in the last 2 years, and last summer they didn't spend any money. I mean, they took Gundo on a free, and they're coming off of their 4th Premier League title in a row, and they didn't spend anything. So yeah, when it comes January and you're in 7th place, that's when you do spend the money because you do need to get into Champions League contention. So spent 150 million, which they probably could have in the summer after winning the Premier League for the 4th time in a row, because prize money is also something considered in your transfer budget. And they brought in a ton of young guys. They brought in a 25-year-old Marmouche, 23-year-old, and Nico Gonzalez. The other 5 transfers they brought in were under 21 years old. So they bring guys in and then they loan them out because at the time they were good buys. That's doing good business. That's what City's done. I mean, you look at someone who departed this year in Jan Kauto. He didn't play a minute for City. He was on loan to Dortmund. They sold him for 25 million. That's great business. So what do they need? They've already brought in Reinders. They've already brought in Cherokee. They've already brought in Aidnori. Left back was a huge need because Guardiola, realistically, he's a center back. He did a job at left back.
Yeah.
He scored goals. I mean, he scored a great goal against Real Madrid. I mean, that's a guy who can really do anything. But what is Pep like? He likes defenders who are strong and can play with the ball at their feet. So Guardiola slides back into that center back spot. They bring in Aidnori, who has even played as a 10 before. So a lot of what I'm seeing is thinking Pep might be going back to either he's giving himself the opportunity to be completely versatile with how City line up. I mean, now we have Reinders, who he last year was the best in the world at getting the ball from deep in the midfield out to guys on the wing. Well, who's the best player one-on-one in the Premier League statistically on the wing? It's Doku. I mean, his final ball isn't great, but if you're asking him to win one-on-ones, Reinders is the guy to get him the ball. So I'm almost seeing giving himself the opportunity to go back to that first couple years at City when it was De Bruyne and Silva kind of having total freedom in the midfield with Fernandinho at the back. Well, now we have Rodri, who's a better ball player than Fernandinho. We have Reinders, who's incredible at either carrying the ball through the line or passing it through the line. We have Cherokee, who I could see as that David Silva role, who's just a tempo guru, as well as I think we see a better year out of Foden potentially being in that spot too. So I think a lot of times when we're not facing a low block, which we face probably half the time,
Yeah.
we're going to see almost like a Sane Sterling duo with Doku and Savinho or Marmouche or Oscar Bob, who's coming back from injury. Because the piece that they were missing was someone who is going to be big, strong, fast, and a finisher. Well, now they have Haaland. Aguero had a totally different set of skills. He could finish from anywhere. But they didn't have someone to finish those final balls when the wingers were coming down with their strong foot on the outside and whipping the ball in. That's what they were missing then. Well, it looks like we're going to have a regen of that with Nori, who could potentially play either down the wing or inverted. We have Mateus Nunes. He had an awful start at right back after the 2-1 collapse against United, where he was on the left. The 5-1 loss to Arsenal. Wes, I know you were there. I'll bring it up before you do. But after those 2 matches, Mateus Nunes was a decent right back. So realistically, what do they still need? Is it a right back? Maybe, because right now you have Mateus there, you have Rico Lewis there. Kustanov had Vinny Jr. in his pocket in the Champions League. So he might be able to, come in every now and then, but they're linked to Livramento. I don't think that's going to happen. They're linked to Wesley out of Brazil at Flamengo. I don't know if that's going to happen. Selfishly, who would I want? Not going to happen because of age and because Inter won't let him go. But Dumfries would be the guy. I mean, he could play as an inverted wingback. He can go forward. He can score. I mean, he's got it all. So who would I want? Him. But he's 28. Not going to happen. So, I mean, another right back would be the guy because we don't really need anyone anywhere else. We already made the big purchases that we needed in Verts. Whether he turned down City or City decided he was too much, I'm okay with us not getting him because realistically, those 3 additions that we already made
Cost the same as him.
I mean, what else do we need?
Yeah.
Right? Like we can do the 4 center back line that we've done with Gvardiol, with Diaz, with Kusanov, or Akanji, or Stones, or Ake. Like those are all guys. Ake was hurt. Akanji was hurt. I mean, some of these guys didn't play because of clauses in their contract. Like Gonzalez would have cost another $5 million if he played another game. Kusanov would have cost another $5 million if he played a game. So realistically, what else do we need? I don't know. It would be someone who is the best right back in the world. Who, I mean, right now that might be Dumfries. So that's selfishly that's who I'd want, but that would never happen. So
what about backup keeper?
I like that we've done. I like what we've done. I don't have any other realistic transfers that I need in right now.
What about backup keeper or
Backup keeper.
Or-
So
replace Ederson?
replace Ederson. Last I saw, the probability of Donnarumma coming in has actually gone up.
That was going to be my.
I mean-
him, and then like Emi Martinez apparently is leaving.
The probability's gone up on that. It's still low, but it's gone up. I don't know who else you would bring in. Garcia's gone to Barcelona. The only other one would be Diogo Costa.
Would you take Martinez?
I mean,
My only question to you is, who's the backup for Holland when Holland ends up in Gabriel's pocket for the 3rd year in a row?
Well, it depends. This is the first time, the second match they played, it's the first time that I actually saw Arsenal attack Manchester City. So I guess I haven't seen enough of an open match between City and Arsenal. Because remember, not this past Easter, but the Easter before, Arsenal basically put 11 behind the ball and were happy with a draw, which ended up losing them the Premier League. So who would be the guy who goes in for Holland? Realistically, they'd probably deploy like a false 9 and put hopefully a in better form Foden up top. Or Cherky looks so good for France. I'm shocked he didn't get as much time as he should have, because I mean, against Spain, he was the one who brought them back and made them competitive. I think he's a big sleeper for 35 million. That's going to potentially be the buy of the year. I'm more excited about Reinders though. I think Reinders is legit. I think he's like when we look back at what De Bruyne did when he first started playing under Pep, I think that's going to be the most similar thing we see, because like Reinders, I said he was the best in the world at getting the ball down the wing. He had Alvaro Morata up top. So like he didn't really service the ball into the middle of the field because Morata's not making head down runs waiting for the ball to his feet one-on-one with the keeper. Holland is, and that's what Holland's been missing. With De Bruyne being injured, like I'm so excited for this season, and I've been relatively quiet about it compared to how I've been in the past, but like these moves I really like.
How humble do we think Holland is after this season?
Oh, there's no humble. There's none.
Like, do you think
I-
he's completely tail between the legs humble, or eating his own words humble?
I
No,
wanna
he's ready to
understand
break his
because-
goal scoring record this year.
Yeah. I have to hop off, but I'm going to leave you guys with a question.
Okay.
If you guys are going to continue going. This
Yeah.
kind of goes to the whole humble piece, a little bit of the humble piece, but mostly kind of towards Arsenal. Do you guys think after multiple years of finishing in that second spot, that almost getting there, that you guys are going to either maintain, or do you think morale is going to come out a little bit after kind of close but no cigar years, multiple years in a row. So do you guys think that morale is going to be a little bit shaky, or do you guys going to think that you guys are come out, do the job this year, or do you think that something's got to happen? I just feel like back to back second place, making it a little bit deep in the Champions League. We're starting from scratch again. Are we just going to come out hungry, or are we going to kind of have a morale issue on our hands here?
I don't think there's any starting from scratch that's even in the cards. I think it's Champions League trophy or Premier League trophies level 10. We've been 8.5 or level 9 knocking on the door for 10 for 2.5, 3 years now. And I think they just can smell it at this point. I think it's right there. I think it's as promising as it's ever been. And probably for the past 5 consecutive years, every year we've gotten better, meaning we've never plateaued. We never, like, even points wise, even though maybe points have plateaued versus what we were last year, I just think the team is better than ever before, than the day before yesterday, and
So you're more confident right now than you were last year and the year before of winning the league. Or are you
absolutely.
wavering?
And
Okay.
in knowing, I mean, sure, do I feel like we maybe had a small window of opportunity? Yes, but I also don't think we went into any of those seasons as favorites. I think this is one of the first years, depending who we sign as a striker and who else. I think there's going to be a few pundits that say, I'm picking Arsenal to win.
I beg to differ. I feel like every single year for the last like 2 or 3 years, we always see from the beginning that everyone's like, Arsenal's the team this year. Arsenal's the team. Especially after the first few weeks where everyone's up their ass that they go, 5-0, 4-0, and then everyone's like, Arsenal's that team. And they set the expectation that early. That happens every single year because I know specifically because the Arsenal fans are extra irritating
Well,
at the beginning of the year, where you guys are like, we're the top dogs right now. We're number
yeah.
one. Everyone says we're number one, and then it slowly pitters out. So I feel like the expectation piece from the beginning, every single year, it's like, yeah, we're the team. We're winning it this year. The pundits agree. Everyone's always, yeah, we're plus whatever or minus whatever. Like Arsenal's gonna win, and then throughout the year, it's kind of like, oh, okay, we'll see.
I, I
But
think I think this
yeah,
year was our year. I think that we definitely screwed up in the transfer market by not signing a striker. Everybody knew that going into the season with just Jesus and Havertz was just not enough. And I think that along with the injuries that we had this year, just we never were able to play with our starting 11 like all year. Ben White started off injured, then we lost Odegaard, then we lost Saka, Havertz, Jesus, Martinelli. Everybody went down except for I think Raya is the only one, and so that made it really tough. I think that's where we slipped up this year is injuries. But then in January, like JP was saying, like if Arsenal signed Marut, that could have been totally different. We could be having a Champions League right now if we signed Marouche, and that was a
Who?
great deal. Marouche,
Marmouche.
yeah.
like we
Um,
signed him. Like
He's
even before
yeah,
like
goal.
last summer, he was linked to Arsenal and City. You know, and it was like that would have been a
the issue
guy.
is that we spent too much on Havertz. We spent too much on Havertz, and I love the song 50 million down the drain or 60 million down da 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 da. But we spent too much on him to be able to go out as a club again and spend that same amount on a striker that actually was going to win the Champions League. And God knows how they limped their way to winning Champions League 4 or 5 years ago. But because he won the Champions League with Chelsea, everyone thought, apparently the Arsenal hierarchy thought, oh, this guy's, star-studded and ready to bring us that trophy. But I don't know. I that's why, again, at the end of the day, like, I think it's low soccer or football IQ if you're telling us that we bottled the season. We were as successful as you can be without having a trophy in hand and with the injuries we had. Again, we had every position of the field have our best player out for several weeks at a time. And if you told any Arsenal fan or any non-Arsenal fan that this is what they would achieve with those injuries, people would have said bullshit. I think you would have had Arsenal fans paying money to get as far as we did with things. So
I
to me, the whole bottle thing is like you're being cute, but that's a
I'll be
poor attempt.
I do have to depart, but I will be more than happy to argue that
Ooh.
next week.
Okay, absolutely.
Sounds good, Nikos.
Thank you
All
for
right.
joining us, Nikos.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Later.
See you, Nikos. We're good. So we want to use that as a segue to who needs to leave our club.
Yeah. I'll take first dibs at this one. Zinchenko, bye. See you later. Please go. You know, Ukraine needs you in the war, buddy. Go fight, do something. Just
He's more.
don't
It feels like he's
be
more
here.
focused on stuff at home,
Don't
which
be
like
here.
it's hard to argue with. Like that's where his head's at.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like it's hard to argue with that, but like it does
When he
seem
came
like
in,
that's
when he
more
came
where
in, I
his
was
head
like,
is.
I was his biggest friend. I was like, this dude, this left back role coming in inverted, being able to overload in midfield, fantastic. But has just taken a massive downward step. He's got to go. Fabio Vieira, who only really played for us for a season, then went on loan. He's got to go too. There's we didn't really spend that much on him, but hey, like we need to recoup that. We need the striker. We need the winger. Both are going to be expensive. So we definitely need to do that. And then we still have Reece Nelson, who academy player, would be all profit. Played pretty decently at Fulham last year. Got hurt, I think, towards the end of the season. I think we gotta cash in on that one. If a Saudi offer came in for Martinelli, I think you'd have to take it. And I think part of the problem with Arsenal not being able to spend is that they don't sell. Our biggest sale of all time is the Ox to Liverpool for 38 million. That is our biggest sale. We've never sold anyone for more than 38 million.
Oh my god.
City sold Alvarez for what, 70, 80?
75 plus add-ons.
75 plus add-ons. That's almost double. I mean, I understand, we had years where we didn't buy anybody, we had a year where we literally signed check. That obviously is going to have lasting effects by having a shitty transfer window like that. You need to, not signing somebody 10 years ago is going to affect you today. So I think we're still kind of dealing with that where we don't have, City just got the young defender there. Nepal? Is that what his name? Who's the guy? Remember he was going to go to
defender?
Arsenal? Forget his name.
Who is that? I don't know.
It was the last one. He was 25 million release clause. I think you're going to loan him back to the club that he's at right now. Remember he was going to go to Arsenal in January.
I'm trying to think. I mean, the guys they brought in were Kusanov,
No.
who stayed, Vitor Reis, who stayed, and then Jumaba. Jumaba? That one?
No. Thought it was a Norwegian looking guy. Kind of looks like Odegaard.
A defender?
I think he might be a midfielder.
The guy that went to Real Madrid?
No.
Poison?
No, I'll find the name. But City make moves, like you said, they get in a bunch of young players. So in 5 years, here comes your 23-year-old, who had great potential, and you now don't need to buy him at 23 and spend a lot because you bought him a couple years ago.
Right. I mean, that's what they've been doing. Like, in terms of who needs to get loaned out, like Max Perone. Perone, they brought in. He played a couple times in preseason. He had some domestic cup appearances. He might have had an appearance in the Premier League, but then he went to Como on loan, and now, it looks like he's going to be going to Como. A guy like Walker just was on loan to Milan.
Yeah.
They got to sell him. So that's a little more money in. Now Gundogan came in on a free. He's linked to going to Galatasaray. So he might be out somewhere in Turkey, whether it's Galatasaray or Fenerbahce.
That dude.
Oh, Sven.
Yes.
Nipin?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah,
he's going out. And then
15 million.
Yeah. And then another guy that probably needs to go either out on loan because he's not going to see a ton of minutes, or they just need to sell because there's not really room for him in the squad is McAtee. Well, like when they bought Cherokee, part of the agreement was someone goes to them on loan. Well, how about a replacement as an attacking midfielder / winger? Like, okay, McAtee goes to Lyon. He, they can probably get 20, 25 million for McAtee, maybe potentially more just because he's English.
Yeah.
That's a guy whose value might go up playing a year in France. Calvin Phillips is coming back from loan.
Yeah,
he's got to go. There's
Yeah,
no
he's
room for
gotta
him
go.
in the squad. You brought in Nico Gonzalez. Like that's a guy who's gonna be your Rodri replacement when he's hurt. Again, he played a bunch, and then they basically kept him on the sideline until the last match of the season because he couldn't play another match. If he did, it was going to cost another 5 to 10 million.
Oh, well.
Here's a big one. You guys are going to love this name. Jack Grealish.
Yeah. He
Jack
didn't even make
Grealish.
it into the World Cup, FIFA World Cup.
No, they left him off the squad. So Grealish is out. He's linked to Leverkusen. He's linked to Everton. He's linked to some English teams. Like, is that a guy who goes out on loan? Because, when you look at it on paper, they spent 100 million. Like, do you sell him now when he's at his lowest value since you bought him? Or do you put him out on loan to a team that's going to give him freedom? Because, like, with Pep, it's the first 70% of the field, you have no freedom. You're stuck in your spot. And then in the final third, you do have freedom. Well, go to an Everton, all of a sudden Jack Grealish can be the Jack Grealish that they bought from Aston Villa. Like, he's still got it.
Oh yeah,
But
I think you're lucky if
he
you
didn't
get
have the
30
opportunity.
million for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think you get 35, 40 million if you sell him. I think if you loan him to Everton and he has like a Villa-ish season or even just shows anything, I think he definitely could be like
right
maybe
now,
get
I don't
50,
think they get
60.
35 or 40 for him. I think they get 20 for him if they sell him now.
Yeah,
I think they get
you
more
have
for
to.
McAtee than Grealish. So, like, that's a guy that's got to go out on loan. And then, let's see, who else? They have some academy guys that, like, Simpson Pusey, that's a guy who now is saying he wants to be in the starting lineup. Like, sorry, buddy, but you're not getting in. We have too many defenders. That's a guy who's gone. But these are all, like, purchases that were made before the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Or they're academy guys. So, like, these aren't even guys that are getting considered in FFP.
Yeah.
So this is all just more
Can I
money
give you
in.
Can I give you a hot take on someone on your club there?
Yeah.
I think Foden has already peaked.
I think Foden is probably...
He's too young to peak, but I think he already peaked.
If you got an 80 million
He may
or
have
90
peaked.
million offer from like Barcelona for Foden, you taking that?
That's tough.
He's thinking about
I don't know.
it.
He's one of our own, man. There's an
I know.
emotional attachment to Foden. He's one of
He's
our
the
own.
only one of your own.
He's the only one of our own. What about Rico? Rico Lewis is one of our own.
Oh, that's true. He did play 2 games last year.
2 games. Rico Lewis is playing right back, and he's not a right back. He's a midfielder.
Over under on him starting 5 games in all competitions last year.
I had
He's
him,
not
I had Rico
someone that
Lewis
you
in
can
fantasy.
argue as
He started a lot of games, but he did not do good fantasy wise.
No, I mean Rico Lewis played right back, but he's not really a right back. He's a midfielder. He's like a number 8. That's where Rico plays. Yeah, I mean I think if you sell, so like Gundo to Turkey, no matter what, it's profit. He came on a free. He was Pep's first transfer at Manchester City, so he was there for 9 years and then went to Barcelona for a season, came back on a free.
Yeah.
Like, that's pure profit. Bernardo, you've gotten everything, every penny that you paid for Bernardo, that's that's paid for. Between those two, I'm keeping Bernardo and letting Gundo walk because Gundo mentally is there. Physically, he's not. He can't track back. Bernardo has an engine. Bernardo keeps going. People hate him. Liverpool fans hate him. Ask our buddy Dylan. Like Bernardo
He's
can still make
a
a difference.
snake.
He's a snake.
Yeah.
In what sense?
I don't know, just got that slithery slime to him.
I'd say he's more of a rat than a snake.
I think that's what I meant. I don't know where snake came from, but yes, rat.
James Milner
Let's-
is a snake.
James Milner just signed a 1-year extension with Brighton.
Did it really?
Disgusting.
Damn.
Disgusting. But yeah, I think so. If you move Gundo, if a ridiculous offer for Grealish comes in, which isn't going to happen, you got to loan him out. But and then they perform in the Club World Cup, then here's the other thing, right? If they sell Ederson, it's going to be for a good number. They're not going to sell Ederson cheap. They'll put keeper on hold for a year if they have to. But then you sell Ederson.
Though.
I think it's a Saudi move. Yeah.
Exactly, it's a Saudi move. Then I think that's why the Donnarumma probability's gone up, and that's according to social media and transfermarket.com. I think if you get a good offer for Ederson, then now that the two options are Costa or Donnarumma, and I'm taking Donnarumma over Costa.
Oh yeah.
Can I tell you why I think the Grealish loan option is never going to happen? You guys are paying that guy a whopping $400K a week. To find someone that will even pay half that, I don't think is going to happen. And at that point, you may as well just sell him if you're trying to squeak out an extra 10, 15 million on a transfer market the following year. You're going to spend that just carrying him for carrying costs. I think you get 30 mil for him if it happened this offseason, and that's it. You're losing 70 mil.
I don't think they get that. I think they get 20. If they were to sell him outright, I think they get 20.
It's not good. I mean, his middle name might be Cliff because of how much he just fucking fell off.
I think it really
he won a treble.
I think
he won 4 in a row.
I think definitely
and then
has to do
retired.
with the system. I think
it's the system.
Yeah. I think if Foden played on a team where, you know, the manager's like, hey, just go out there and express yourself, you know, I think he would be the Grealish that we know. But I'm surprised Villa isn't in for Grealish. I'm surprised they don't want to bring him back.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't need him.
Yeah, like where does he go, right?
Yeah.
Like I think this past season, Grealish's best performance was when he actually like came deep into the midfield and he played centrally and won the ball because his ball retention is really good. That's what he's good at. That's why Pep liked him because it was Grealish gets the ball on the wing and he dictates the tempo. And it worked. But now with like the way City are moving, that's not what Pep's going for. He doesn't need a guy who's going to hold on to the ball on the wing. I think Pep's going for something more direct. And it's just Grealish needs to have freedom. He can't be stuck to, 1/6 of the field. Stay on the wing, right? Like, I mean, Thierry Henry even said Thierry played out on the wing for Pep. One time he cut inside, said, screw my positioning for Barcelona, cut inside, went to the middle from the wing, scored a goal, and Pep subbed him off.
Yeah.
So that's what Grealish is good at, but like that's not what they do. So
I think Grealish is playing in a Sunday league in 5 years.
No, he's not. Grealish is buying everyone drinks at the bar in 5 years. On Sunday, he's not playing in a Sunday league.
That's what I meant by Sunday league.
Yeah, no, he's waiting for the team to show up at the bar, and then he's buying drinks. He's not playing.
Wes, you have any Arsenal people that you want to see gone? Any sells?
Not really. Zinchenko, we know Tierney's out. I do think one year he's good enough where you don't keep Nelson for any kind of a reason.
Hmm.
You maybe get 15, 20 for him. I don't know, maybe 25 if you can get him to like a Fulham, kind of like Emil Smith Rowe.
Yeah,
But I can't really think of anyone else that I would shave off. I think admittedly, we were a very thin team. We were very shaved down to begin
I
with.
agree. I
So,
think we definitely need more bodies. There's a transfer I want Arsenal to make that they're not going to make is Xavi Simmons. I think that
oh,
I think that he would be fantastic to come in and have another Odegaard style of player, somebody who can play in midfield, be an attacking midfielder, just somebody who can just make something special happen. I don't think we have. I mean, besides like Declan Rice's free kicks, we don't have anybody that makes a special moment. You know?
well, that's where a Zubamendi signing is exciting. You
Yeah,
know, one can only hope that Odegaard is anything better than himself this past year. I'm just telling myself it's the injury year. He was off from when he came back. It was an ankle thing. He's got delicate feet and
yeah.
whatnot.
He had a kid too. He had a kid.
Sure,
Sleepless
sure.
nights.
So clearly he was distracted. Of course, that's the year he was going to have. Let's see him back next year. But I don't, there really is no one else that I would shave. There's no one else to shave.
Yeah, I agree.
We were,
There's not many bodies to let go. It's the people who just
I,
didn't
I
play.
would
Like
consider,
that. That's what
I
it
would
is.
consider myself a diehard fan. And towards the middle of the season, I was looking at our Premier League subs for games, and I'm like, who the hell are these people?
Yeah, we had kids on the bench that I was like, yeah, you don't even hear like the Arsenal Twitter fans talk about like oh this is the kid, this is the kid. Like even there was names
Yeah.
was like yeah I don't even know who that is. Like that dude's never played.
I
So
think this is
Well,
the
you
year
guys
that
brought up those guys,
Max
right? Like
Dowman.
Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri.
yeah,
Like
like
those
Lewis
were
Skelly,
the
Waneri were
academy guys.
yeah, but we have we carried two like academy keepers on our bench in some games
Yeah.
with Neto. So we had three keepers in our bench spots, and it was like okay. I mean,
I really have to say, like, I think even though it's not going to be impactful week on week, and it's the only bit of business that we've done, even if it's not official, but I think the Kepa signing is the best dollar for talent and experience signing in the Premier League so far this window.
yeah, it's a good backup keeper. I mean, I wanted that Garcia guy because he was supposed to be really, really, really good, and it was only 25 million. But I guess we need the money for strikers and wingers
We
and
literally
attackers.
got it
So
for free. It doesn't take up any transfer spending money. I'd like to think that we're going to spend north of 150. That would be promising
yeah,
and new.
I think we need a
Or
200.
in other cases, just another January for Manchester City. But it's just nice
No,
that
we
we
don't
got
usually
such.
spend in January. It was just this past January that we really spent. We'll make it like Deesh was a January signing, Laporte was a January signing, but like those were one transfer. It wasn't, you know, a haul.
Yeah,
Like it's not just another January.
January is a
It's
tough
another
window.
summer.
January is a tough window.
And there was no striker out there, none that was gonna move for under 100.
Yeah,
I'm happy that we're not linked with a Watkins or a Calvert Lewin because that's just a Chelsea with Delap. Like, it's a parallel signing. It doesn't improve you. It fills a hole. Delap is not going to win Chelsea the league. Watkins is not going to win Arsenal the league.
yeah, I don't want
Calvert Lewin is
Watkins.
not going to win Arsenal the league. So I'm happy, but I said it from the get go of when the transfer market opened. I really hope that we get Sesko, and it sounded really promising last week that like
Sesko is my
it
pick.
was
I think he fits the style better, even if he's not as good today. as Victor
He's basically like
Gyökeres.
Giroud, but more agile and quick.
Yeah, and I would take the guy on Juventus, Dusan Vlahovic, who was trying to decide between us and them, and then chose them, and obviously hasn't worked out. It's just not been good.
I
Definitely made the
wouldn't.
wrong choice. But I wish I would replace him with Jesus. I would be okay if that was our third slash second striker. If we had Sesko, Havertz, and Vlahovic, that's a better room than we had last year, the year before that, the year before that. I think we definitely need, like, there's a couple accounts that are like, oh, Arsenal might sign both Sesko and Gyökeres, which would be wild. Absolutely wild. I don't think that's going to happen at all. But technically, like, that's what we need. Having both, having an older guy, Gyökeres could be the Lacazette, Sesko could be the Aubameyang in a sense of having, two strikers, slightly different styles. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if both would be the move for Arsenal. I feel like it would more be one of those, and then because like Mikel Arteta, he came from Pep, right? Like that's where he grew up as a coach, and I think
Not 100%
no,
accurate, but go on.
no. Well, I mean, what were his
He only spent 10 years under Wenger as a player, which I do count as managerial experience, but go ahead.
You do? Okay, well, grew up as a coach. He spent what 5 under Pep as a manager. So I think he took a lot from both. But I mean, also Arteta's what were 2 of his first moves? Zinchenko and Jesus, 2 guys who came from Pep's system, who went into a very similar system. I would argue more similar to Pep than Wenger.
Yeah, I think they're both that Barcelona system when they were both playing there. Pep and
So
Arteta, from that same family.
so yeah. So what I would say is like from what Arteta does, what are you missing? Like Havertz is kind of a combination of what you need because Havertz isn't afraid to come off the defenders, come into the midfield and carry the ball. But he'll also be direct, and he's not outstanding at either, but he does a job, right?
Yeah.
So like realistically, what do you need? If you're going for someone who's going to be more direct and in the box, and like you said, like a lot of their goals come from set pieces. Well, someone who's going to win the ball in set pieces, realistically, what do you need is someone who's going to be really good at coming into the midfield and getting the ball. Because like you have Saka, who is outstanding at playing direct from the wing, right? Like that's a guy who, if you can get someone open who comes off the middle of the defense into midfield or in the half space between the lines, playing between the lines, then like that's probably more what you need. So I would say instead of getting 2 guys who are going to play really similarly with the same build and who are going to be great at playing direct, I would say you need to go after someone who is going to be more of a almost like a false 9. I mean, Trossard does that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but he's not big enough.
Not,
Yeah.
right. Like
That's why Sesko
it's
makes
not
perfect sense. He's the size and speed. I just think the Gurkos guy, I'm just so skeptical on
because he failed with
Portuguese
Brighton.
success.
Yeah, he didn't do good at Brighton, and it's like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's the eye test. He's got a 6 celebration, and if he signs for us, I'm doing that every single time he scores. It's so dope. It's absolutely dope. I love it. But
Yeah, but like okay, Holland went from Leipzig to Dortmund. I'm sorry, not Leipzig, Salzburg
yeah,
to Dortmund. And yeah, he performed at Dortmund, but he was also performing at Salzburg. Like Gyökeres, yeah, maybe it took him longer, but I personally, if it were me as an Arsenal fan, I'd be saying let's go Gyökeres over Sesko. I just think Gyökeres. So Sesko, what Sesko can do on the ball is better than what Gyökeres can do. But I think in the Premier League, I don't think Sesko will quite be able to do what he has been able to do in the Bundesliga. I think Gyökeres did it in the Champions League. Gyökeres, when I watched that City match, Ruben's last match before he went to United, like Gyökeres was. I was
he's
sitting there
strong.
thinking,
He's very
"Fuck!"
strong.
Like
Yeah.
I hope that he does not go to a Premier League team because he's lethal. I think he's more lethal than Sesko.
Right now, definitely.
I don't
agree.
know.
Right now.
I have to go.
Well, I think we ended here. I think it was a great first pod. If you
Yeah.
guys made it to the
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, share it,
Sorry for falling asleep.
share it to you. Share it to your group chats. We are gonna make a TikTok. We'll probably make an Instagram. Yeah, Wes.
Maybe we'll add some clubs in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We want to do a lot. We want to try to do every 2 weeks, maybe every week if this works out. You could comment questions to ask us and have us debate and fight about it. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
See you later.
Later.